Hey friends, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. This week is week 2 for Battleathon. That means more points are needed because if you don't know what Battleathon is, it is a point-based, team-oriented reading competition hosted by Mel Lenore Reads, and the first 2 weeks the points add together and that determines your seeding for the next week. So my team is hopefully going to be in the top few just so we can get better seeding for the next part. This week I am actually going to be doing a Stephen King rating vlog. I did start that today at work with an audiobook, but I also have 2 physical books that I would love to get read this week. Both of them are Stephen King's more mystery, mystery thriller rather than horror. First, I have Billy Summers. This is about a killer for hire, but he only kills the target if it is a bad guy and he wants out. So he has to finish one more job, and it's about this. It's a little bit longer, so I'm not 100% sure how much of it I'll actually get through, but I am going to try to finish the whole thing. Next book is Mystery Mercedes, and it is about a man who drives a Mercedes through a crowd of people and is deemed a big killer. And Bill Hodges is an ex-cop. Bill Hodges got this letter from the guy that did it, but he also says in the letter that he wants to feel that rush again, and he wants to make a bigger crime this time, like take down more people than he did the first time. So it is about trying to stop him from doing that. I do have the whole series. This is the first book in the trilogy, and then Holly is a character in these books that also has her own book. I have that book as well. So these are my 2 physical books for the week. For audiobooks, I started one this morning at work, and I read 28% of it. I listened to 28% at work this morning, and that is The Drawing of Three. I started the Dark Tower series last year physically, and then I saw that my library had Drawing of Three available, so I downloaded that and I started that this morning. I am really loving it. So I don't really know how to explain the Dark Tower series. It's almost like a Western type of fantasy in the first book, where he's kind of going on this adventure and trying to find the Dark Man, I think his name is. And the Dark Man has tarot cards, and he just wants to meet this man, and he's following this man. That is literally the entire premise of the book, is he is following this man to get information out of him about this Dark Tower. So The Drawing of Three comes after that one. It is the second book in the series. Stephen King took The Drawing of Three a very different direction than I expected him to. He had a very Western feel in The Gunslinger, and then The Drawing of Three is very, very different. It comes more into the present day. Like, it starts in the desert and then it comes into the present day. And it's very interesting. It's like time travel and like jumps between time and jumps between reality, kind of. It is so good so far. I don't have the next one. I don't have Wastelands currently from my library. They don't have it available. I don't have time to put it on hold. I do have both of these on hold, but I doubt that they're going to come in time for me to listen to them. Also, it is Tuesday. I normally try to start reading vlogs on Monday, but Monday was super busy for me. I didn't make myself read just for the sake of reading. That's all for now. I will update you later on tonight after I start one of these books. So it's Wednesday. I haven't really been updating. So my big update is that in The Drawing of Three, which is the audiobook that I'm listening to, I am 45% in. and I'm really liking it. It's very fun. It's very different from the first book in the series. He's making more and more friends to come along on his journey with him to find the Dark Tower. And that's basically where we're at. I just have the first one now. Like, the first friend has just said yes to coming. And then they're about to go find another friend. And then I started physically reading Billy Summers. I'm not very far. I am 39 pages in. But I'm 39 pages in, but I already have 4 tabs. Because this book is really, really well written. I am in the camp of, I think Stephen King is very readable, and I think that, like, middle school kids would even be able to read it. However, I don't think they necessarily should unless they're more mature, because there are some mature themes in Stephen King books, as we all know. So, I do think it's very readable, though. His writing is so nice, so fast-paced. I'm gonna read more Billy Summers tonight. I have a few hours tonight just to kind of chill out and relax. And I will update you later, because I will see how far I can get. I guess I should tell you what the book's about. So, Billy Summers is about a man who is a killer for hire, and he just took his last job. It's $2.5 million for this job. That's what he gets paid. And he's put up in, like, a house and has an office and all that stuff. Like, an office building that he's allowed to go to and work in. And his cover is that he's an author, writing his first book and all that stuff. So he got put into this town because he'd been partying too much, whatever. So his cover is he's an author, and he decided to write, quote unquote, a autobiography. So that's where I'm at. He's just starting his journey in the tower and just starting to write. So I'm right there. I'm only on chapter like 3 or I'm middle of chapter 3, 3.5 or whatever. I'm really enjoying it also, and I'm gonna get to read later. Friday. Very happy it's Friday. I do have one more day of work tomorrow, but do have an update. I finished the drawing of 3 today. So I finished the second book in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I gave it 4 stars. I really, really liked it. I thought each of the characters was very well developed, and I think their little quirks that each of them had were really interesting and very good. So I really did like it. I liked the plot of this one so much more than the first one, and I liked the setting a lot more because it kind of jumped around different settings and different time periods, which was kind of fun. I just am leaving my library, as you saw. I went to the library tonight. I was going to just bring back my 3 books that I wanted to return, and I was only going to get like 1 or 2. I ended up getting 4. I don't really need to get 4 books from the library, but I did. I got The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pitt Williams. This is about a little girl who is curious about words, and she lives in the scriptorium, which is where the Oxford Dictionary was made. And every time the people making the dictionary decide to get rid of a word, they drop it to her, they drop it on the ground, and she's collecting all these pieces without realizing, like, what any of them means, really. And yeah, it just shows, it's about her realizing that specific words are kind of just got, like, you just get rid of them for no reason. And it's usually the words from, like, less privileged people, like common folk and women and that type of stuff. So that sounds really interesting. Got The Last Word by Taylor Adams. If you don't know, this is about a girl who writes a review, gives a 1-star review to a book, and the author comes after her. She's house sitting, and she's like knocks on the door and threats and all that. Then I got The Pull of the Stars. Or it's during World War I. It's about midwives working it's about a nurse working in a hospital where expectant mothers are to come when they have a terrible flu to be quarantined together. So it's about that and about losing people and gaining new lives during the war and all that. Finally, I got The Vaster Wilds. A servant girl escapes from a colonial settlement into the night, carries nothing but her wits, a few possessions, and the spark of God that burns hot in her. This is a thrilling story, penetrating fable about trying to find a new way of living in a world succumbing to the churn of colonialism. It just sounded really cool. It's about a girl that, goes into the wild to escape her servanthood. I love this cover. It's super pretty. So I got 4 books. I'm gonna go read some more Billy Summers. I'm on I read to page 95. I don't know if I updated you after I read last night. But I read to page 95 last night, chapter 6, and I'm excited to keep going. Hey guys, so as you can see, this reading vlog was a little bit more chaotic, and it wasn't exactly what I expected. So I really wanted just to do a Stephen King reading vlog this week where I just binge read as many Stephen King books as I could. I did finish Drawing of Three, and I started Billy Summers, but I didn't get any further. I only got to page 95 in Billy Summers. I really am enjoying it. However, I want to take my time on this book because it is so different, and I want to get to know the character and his different personalities and aspects and stuff a lot more. So I didn't want to rush this book or force myself to read it right now if it wasn't what I wanted to be reading. Because, I'm gonna be honest, I'm very much into the Dark Tower series right now. It has my heart. I want to just binge read that series. And I know that next week I was gonna do a finishing my TBR reading vlog. But to be honest, I still have most of the books on my TBR for the month. I did not read Red Rising. I did not read Destroy Me. I did not read Mistborn. And these are, Mistborn's really thick. And then I might read Destroy Me just because it's only 100 pages. I can read that in an afternoon. So I might do that still. I didn't read Mr. Mercedes either, which I'm kind of bummed about. But I think it was just a wrong time type of thing because I wanted to read Billy Summers. I got into Billy Summers. I enjoyed it. I did read the prologue to this, and I thought the prologue was very interesting because if you know about this book, it's the first scene is of a man driving through a crowd in a Mercedes. And that was the prologue. It was so good. It was very well written. And what I love about Stephen King that I noticed in this book is that even his side characters feel like main characters. All of his side characters you really get to know. I really started to feel for, his name is Augie, and I started to feel for him, and I started to really like him. And then because of the, car driving through the crowd, he's no longer alive. So, and that's not really a spoiler. It's literally in the first 3 pages of the book. So you get to know these characters, even though they are not your main 2-3 characters, and it just, everything that happens to them too, you start to feel attached to them. So I really like that about Stephen King. So that was my update really for the Stephen King vlog. As you saw, I went to the library, did a little bit of that. I also have a mini book haul. My husband let me go to Barnes yesterday, and I got 3 books. It wasn't that bad. But I picked up The Wastelands because I am going to binge this series. And I'm going to do with this series what I should do with most series, and I'm going to buy the books as I read them. So I just finished number 2. So I went to Barnes, bought The Wastelands, which is book number 3, and then as I finish these books, I'm just going to buy the rest, I'm going to buy the next one in the series, which honestly is kind of fun. But I'm so excited to read this. It is so different. It's 3 months later, and the characters have definitely grown up in those 3 months. And then because of something that happened in the first book, Roland, the main character, does something in the second book, which then affects the timeline of just the universe in general. So this is dealing with some of the consequences, and they're still making their way to The Dark Tower, but this is only book 3, and there's 7 in this series. So I'm excited to see what adventures they get into in this book. And the font of this book is actually massive. I know you probably can't see it, but it is so much larger than I was expecting. And then I got One Dark Window. I know that this has been going around. This is definitely a book talk, booktube book. This book is about a lady named Elspeth. I think that's how you say it. And she has a monster inside her head called the Nightmare, and he protects her and keeps her safe, and he gives her magic. So she goes on this adventure to collect these cards, and these cards help give more magic, and the king wants it. So this is the Shepherd King duology book 1. Once I finish this, if I enjoy it enough, I will go buy the second book. And this was a buy one get one 50% off book, so I had to buy the second book. And I got Shadow and Claw by Gene Wolfe. It is a science fiction epic, I think, because this is 2 separate volumes that make up a larger book called the Book of the New Sun. So the Book of the New Sun is 4 volumes. It's this book and then another book I don't remember the name of right now. But this is Shadow and Claw. The Shadow in Shadow and Claw is actually the book The Shadow of the Torturer, and then the Claw is the Claw of the Conciliator. And both, since this is an epic 4-volume science fiction novel, it all follows a guy named Severian, I think is how you pronounce it. And it starts with these 2, and he is an apprentice to the Guild of Torturers on a world called Earth, URTH, not EARTH, about him showing mercy to a victim, and that's the worst thing that you can do for his profession. So I'm excited to read this. It sounded really interesting. I have never seen anybody talk about this on BookTube, so I know basically nothing about this series. I do know that it looks really cool, and I'm excited to get into it, and if I like it, I will go buy the second book, because I'm gonna want to know what happens in the other 2 volumes. These 2 are definitely just going straight to my cart, because they have room right here. And then this one, this is why next week's vlog might not be a finishing my TBR vlog, just because I want to read this book. But that is all for my reading Stephen King / doing bookish things vlog, and I'll see you next week when I read more of whatever. All right, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do, and I will see you next week.